Welcome back to Straight from the Hive. This is Alan Turanski, President and Beekeeper at GloryBee. So excited to have my special guest, Lynne, join us today. Lynne, welcome to Straight from the Hive.
Thanks, Alan.
It's awesome to have you. So, Lynne, tell us a little bit about your background and also what drew you to becoming Save the Bee Program Manager.
Well, I've been a beekeeper for 14 years, just a hobbyist beekeeper. A couple hives in my backyard. I'm a biologist by training, so I have a sense of ecosystems and pollinator habitat. And I've also worked the last 10 years before coming to GloryBee. I was working in the food and egg realm, so I feel like I can connect the dots between ecosystems and soil health and pollinators and food and how important it all is. So it's
Oh
really a
my
dream
gosh,
job.
that's awesome.
So, Alan, the Save the Bee initiative has been inspiring positive change for a decade now to ensure the
Yeah.
future of honeybees. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how this all got started? Since I've only been here 3 years.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. Yeah, 10 years, I can't believe it. It's pretty exciting. And yeah, back in 2011, the bees were just facing this sort of coined term, colony collapse disorder. And we just were not, I was not feeling like we were necessarily doing enough being a part of the industry, the honey industry, the beekeeping industry. And so I was just really thinking, how do we make a difference in bee health and in the way that beekeeping is done? And I was just inspired that we should do some sort of a give back program. And so I began doing some research around the country, around what research was being done by bee labs and what beekeepers were needing, and saw what some other companies were maybe doing around consumer awareness or around, uh, you know, hobby beekeepers. And I was just inspired that we should start Save the Bee. We should give 1% of our retail honey sales and our beekeeping supply sales back towards Save the Bee. So um, that's how we got started. And after the first year, we raised some money, and I was excited, but I had much bigger and loftier goals. And I thought, we need to, this isn't just something for Glory Bee to solve. This is something that affects all of us. So we need to broaden this. And, that kind of began this thought of how do we create these other brand partners. So, that's kind of where that kind of got birthed.
Yes, and it's a really unique fundraising model. So we've been bringing on board basically Glory Bee customers, people who buy our honey, they put their honey in a product, whether it's a beverage or a cookie or bread, and they put the Save the Bee logo on that product and give us a percentage of sales. So they give us a kickback contribution, but it also helps us get the word out in the world about Save the Bee. And we have 14 brand partners at the moment. We've had some come
Wow.
and go in the 10 years. We have 14 now. We have two more coffee companies coming on board really soon with a ready to drink latte that's sweetened with honey. And so the brand partners really help us out in getting the word out and raising funds. And we've passed 850,000, and we're hoping to get to our million mark here in
Yes.
in the 10-year anniversary. And we also have a lot of, we call them promotional partners, businesses that, for example, Down to Earth here in Eugene. It's a garden store that sells beekeeping equipment, and they give us a 1% of sales of that. Or bakeries that do a little event in April or May about pollinators, and they bake a bee's knees cupcake and give us proceeds. So So we've got lots of business partners, and our brand partners are the biggest, but we welcome everyone's creative impulses on how to promote saving bees.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing how much it's grown and just how many different brand partners and different promotional partners we have. So, Lynn, can you share with our audience the types of projects that Save the Bee supports that we get involved in?
Yeah, I'd love to. So primarily, the bulk of the funds have gone to scientific research, specifically Oregon State University's honeybee lab. And OSU is a land grant college, which means they have an extension service, which means our honeybee lab is doing applied research. So they are literally working, doing their research with Oregon's commercial beekeepers and farmers. And so the farmers and beekeepers get results in real time. And the management recommendations that the research team has been able to make has estimated to have saved our commercial beekeepers 5 million
Wow.
annually. And one of the really fun things they developed was an app for farmers about pesticides. So a farmer can be out in the field thinking it's looking at a crop and thinking he needs to spray, he or she, and looking at this app and finding out, no, don't use this. Or if you spray this, only do it at night. Or if you've got bees that are pollinating, don't use this chemical at all. And so it's a real time, really convenient uh, application for farmers.
That's pretty amazing that they've
And
developed that.
yeah, that was early on. They've also done some research looking at the sublethal effects of pesticides. So this is what are these chemicals doing to the bees? It's not if they're not killing them right away, are they impacting them in other ways? And they've found that a specific fungicide actually breaks the path of hormone formation. So bees
Wow.
ingest sterols in the pollen they eat, and they use the sterols to create hormones. And bees don't just need hormones to develop from a larva to a bee. Worker bees change their job every week of their life, and they need hormones to tell them what they're going to do next. So, bit of a problem when bees have learning disabilities.
Wow.
They've also done some really exciting work with carrot seed farmers in Oregon. And some people don't think about carrots. You don't really need a bee to pollinate a plant to get a carrot, which is a root, but you do need a bee to get viable seed. And it turns out that carrot seed pollen is not really nutritionally useful for bees. It's very low in terms of its nutritional
Huh.
content.
Okay.
And so beekeepers taking their bees to pollinate carrot seed fields, their bees were coming back less healthy. So they figured this out, told the beekeepers to feed their bees more protein, um, and then also convinced some of the carrot seed farmers to plant hedgerows with other types of forage plants so the bees would get the diversity in their diet that they need. And this work with the nutritional content of carrot seed pollen led them to they just last year got a big 3-year USDA grant to look at the nutritional content of 100 different plant pollens and create a national database.
So
So
not
that,
all nectar and pollen is created equal. That's what you're saying.
yeah, that's right, right. And
Okay.
so they want to know what do bees really need? A plant that bees might be attracted to might be yummy and smell good, but might not actually have everything they need. Um, so one more point I want to make about OSU is how important it is for a university research lab to have industry support in order to get federal funding. So Save the Bees support, which has been over $500,000 to the lab, has really made a difference in their ability to say get this grant, which they just
Ah,
landed.
fantastic.
So, but we've also, Save the Bee has also supported some educational projects. We've given 26 scholarships to the Oregon Master Beekeeper program. We've done over 82 public education events in 10 years. And we've support the Northwest Center for Alternatives to Pesticides, which spends a lot of time educating the public about what not to spray in their
Hmm.
yards or gardens or on their farms, and alternatives, things that will help them with the issues they have. Um, and we also are supporting an NGO which works with coffee farmers, and they are training coffee farmers to become beekeepers to supplement their income and give them more food security. And that's been super successful. That's food for
Fascinating.
farmers
That's really
in
cool.
Vermont. So we also really want to support creation of more pollinator habitat, and we've
Hmm.
done that through the Northwest Center for Alternatives to Pesticides has trained over 60 organic farms in how to create pollinator hedgerows or meadows. We've also supported the Bee Girl organization, and she's doing a project with vineyards and um, planting bee-friendly vineyards with pollinator habitat around the exterior or even in between the vines. And between the two of those organizations and their projects, there's been over 400 acres of pollinator habitat created.
Fantastic. Well,
And
bees need those diverse diets like us, right?
they do. It's really important, and the native flowering plants are really important too. Um, but one last area that we support is pesticide reform, and a lot of that is just educating people about what not to use and what are the worst things on the shelves for your garden or lawn or your farm.
Hmm.
And but in addition, we've supported Beyond Toxics, a statewide nonprofit here in Oregon, in their work with the state legislature. So we've had bills on the books to restrict neonicotinoids, which is a pesticide that's specifically harmful to bees,
Hmm.
and to ban them. And but the one that actually got passed in 2020 was for a pesticide called chlorpyrifos. And so it's been really important for us to testify at the state legislature and continue to be a voice in nationwide pesticide reform.
And those are all awesome projects, and it sounds like there's a lot of different avenues in which we need to support the bees. So that's fantastic. So, Lynn, there is a lot going on to help save the bee, and this is something that really matters to all of us, or should matter to all of us, for our healthy food supply and to sustain that food supply for generations. So, what's next for Save the Bee?
Well, we are really excited because we've just submitted our application to the IRS to become a standalone 501c3 nonprofit. And we have a new board of directors, and we will eventually be getting an advisory board too to bring some of our favorite beekeepers and bee scientists on board to advise our work and what else to support. And we'll be hiring a new executive director soon. And we're really trying to expand our national reach. We're in conversation with a couple of bigger potential brand partners, companies that have products nationwide and are really well known. And and we're excited to grow, to expand, to be able to raise a larger amount of funds, and to support work. Especially, we want to start specifically connecting the dots more between regenerative agriculture and pollinator health, and the importance really of retooling our whole agricultural system. It's important to our food quality, and it's important to the pollinators that give us the food.
Yeah,
And so we want to start connecting those dots a little bit more as we move forward.
for sure. One of the things that I've always thought was fascinating is that on average, and it does, varies by crop, of course, but you know, bees increase the size of the fruit, if you will, 15 to 20%, and the amount of the fruit by 15 to 20%. So those are great yield increases on average when you think about that. So, losing bees, would have a devastating impact. So, super excited about our push to be, a bigger and more nationally recognized initiative, and just build that community that's able to make informed decisions. So there is an amazing amount of impact the bees have What can people do to help the bees, Lynn?
Well, the first thing folks can do is not use pesticides in their on their lawns or in their garden, or it's limited the use on farms. Um, and if you're unsure of that, or if you have some sort of infestation problem, there are alternatives out there. So I encourage people to seek alternatives when they really need a
Hmm.
chemical of some sort. I talk to people a lot about planting flowers, different kinds of flowers that bloom in different seasons, but not everyone has a green thumb and wants to deal with flowers. So I encourage anyone who's got a backyard of any size to plant some native flowering shrubs, small trees or shrubs. Um, this is so important for bees and uh, other critters in the ecosystem. So
Hmm.
in Oregon, it might be Indian plum or flowering currant. Um, Also, I encourage you to support local beekeepers. Go to your farmer's market and find someone who's selling honey. Beekeeping is a tough job, and we're really grateful to the beekeepers who've been stewarding bees, especially through this tough time with bee health. So it's
Hmm.
a lot of work. You can give them your support and buy their honey. Um, Also, we want you to support organic and regenerative agriculture. It's really our agricultural system that we so all desperately need to eat, but it's also at the heart of all the problems we're having with pollinators. So getting that system um, to a more sustainable level is super important. So buy organic food when you can and shop at organic nurseries when you can.
Hmm.
You can also donate to Save the Bee at savethebee.org. Or you can participate in our annual virtual race, Run for the Bees, which happens during National Pollinator Week coming up next month, June 20th through 26th. This is a virtual race. We've got runners from all over the country. You can run or walk or ride your bike or roller skate. Just grab a few friends and get out there and support the bees.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Lots of great ways we can support the bees. And you mentioned earlier, we've got Save the Bee has brand partners and promotional partners, so we can support those brands as well and those promotions and buy those products and know that those organizations are kicking back funds to help fund these Save the Bee projects. Well, Lynn, there's just so much to learn, so much to talk about, but thank you for all your time today, being part of Straight from the Hive and just leading the charge in saving the bee.
Always happy to talk bees with you, Alan.
It's always fun.